Robert Eggert. The gospel reading today technically says, those who heed my God's words will be successful, and those who don't will fail. On our mission trip, there were many important words, silent words, but words nonetheless. On a small scale, there was an accidental killing of some baby birds that were in a nest on a house we were painting, killed when the chaperones gave the go-ahead to knock it down because we didn't think there were birds in it. A few birds later, we realized what had happened. However, we were comforted by Father Rob of St. Elizabeth's, said since they had been born so late, they would have just died in the winter, so we had hurried their death, not killed them so much. The words from that accident say are, look before you leap, one, and prepare for the unexpected, even if it can possibly unexpected. On a larger scale, we had a confrontation with a rattlesnake. Caroline Keeshan of St. Timothy's had been walking at night and stepped on it. At least she was not bitten, but we had to kill it. Another theoretical avoidable casualty. However, if we didn't kill it, I might have been one of us whose deaths I would be talking about. Christ has spoken in more words. Those are, life is a part of death, death is a part of life no matter what we do. And the biggest tragic event of the week, a 13-year-old girl a Native American girl named Taya committed suicide. This sent shockwaves to our tight-knit community. I believe it really showed us that, how in sad shape the Sioux community is on that reservation, and just in general, looking at the history books, except Custer's Last Stand, there's nothing but getting kicked around from bad point A to bad point B by the government, getting diseased blankets, when you're given food as a sign of we're sorry, it's nothing but starch and alcohol, bad food and things that they have no immunities to, like European settlers did. And although this is a very depressive reality, I think we can't allow ourselves to fall into grief, because it just makes for unproductive people. What we must do is be productive in that, like our trips up there to rebuild churches. And on a small scale, it's generally telling people about the conditions, and we can't be active that way. Remember, Jesus said, those who not heed my words listen to my words will be successful. Those who do not will be like the fool who built his house on sand.
I do believe this mic system is against tall people for some reason. Our first visitor from the res was the MC for the powwow, Tony Bobtail Bear. And he talked to us about a variety of things. One was the American diet, the effects of the American diet on Indians, since Europeans and by token Americans have had alcohol for centuries. The Indians have only had it for maybe a century, so they just don't have the genetic tolerance that we have. And though one of the positive things he mentioned was about the powwow, there's the first dance they do is called the grass dance. And the grass dance is in times before pavement was done at the beginning, so that the grass would be level and no one would be tripped up in the next dances. More than anyone else on the trip, more than any Native American we met, Tony was a talker. He talked for 2 hours. And that's not 30 minutes break, 30 minutes break. That was a 2-hour marathon oration. And that's part of the culture. The older a person is, the more they can talk, and not how it is here, where you shouldn't interrupt an elder, but if they're way off base or they don't know what they're talking about or what they're saying just isn't that important, you can kind of steer them back to what is important. No. If they want to go, and talk about rabbits for a little while, you just have to sit and wait for the rabbit part of the tour, and then maybe they'll come back to what your question was about. And if you couldn't tell, I have a few opinions on this tradition, but it reminds me of the passage we had in the Bible today, because it may be a strange place to build the house of their traditions on, but it's a solid tradition. It's been around for over 400 years for all the stuff that the Native Americans have been through. So again, it may be a weird place to build a house, but it's a strong house and it's kept on for many, many years. Thank you.